Jams, jams, jams. Picture books and jams. Welcome, everybody, to PBJamz. Music and picture books, what a perfect sandwich. Squish them all together, what a yummy snack. PBJamz, yummy books and music. PBJamz, reading, writing, teaching. PBJamz.
All right, well, good morning or afternoon, evening, whatever time of day it is for you. It's a kind of a dreary Sunday afternoon for me, but it is definitely not dreary here in PBJamz world because I am just so honored and thrilled and happy to be welcoming back two of my very dearest writerly and readerly friends in the kidlit world, Stina Hernandez and Reka Rajan, who both have been guests on the show. They're kind of turning the tables a little bit today because it is my very own episode of PBJamz. So we're going to be talking about all things Music Plants Hope, which you see in the background. And I can think of nobody better to be sharing this moment with than Stina and Reka. So thank you both for being here and chatting with me.
Absolutely. I'm so excited. Hi, Reka.
Hello. We are so excited for all of Tani's wonderful viewers. Sina and I did not purposely coordinate, but here we are celebrating our favorite person. Congrats, Tani. And here we are to talk about your debut picture book.
That comes out in a few weeks from right now. Is that true?
I think it's 5 weeks from when we're recording. Yes.
Hey.
Super excited. I'm Stina Hernandez, and thank you, Tani, for bringing me back to PBJamz for this special moment. You are just so sweet. You're such a bright light in the kidlit community, and you're so supportive of everyone. So there's nowhere else I'd rather be right now in the world than here celebrating your debut picture book. And I'm just super excited to be here. So let's do this. Let's turn the tables and find out all about you. Is your turn, and find out how this beautiful book came to be. Because I really don't know all the little details. So I'm really excited to find out.
Okay, cool.
Okay, here we go. Do you want to start? Okay. All right. First question. Can you start by sharing what led you into storytelling? How did you start writing for children?
So I think I've always been a reader. Like, I read really early. I was already reading before I started school, thanks to my mom and lots of good, we used to have books on records. Now we have, I don't know, now we have audio books. But when I was young, we actually had the records, and I had a little record player. So I was a reader early. And then I learned to kind of start writing at about fourth grade with a project that my teacher assigned. And it was poetry that first actually led me into writing. So as a fourth grader, I was reading poetry by Shakespeare and Wordsworth and Tennyson and Shelley, and along with, nursery rhymes and all the kid-friendly poetry as well. But that was where I first learned that, like, you can put your words on paper and you can make a difference and you can have a voice. And from there, it just started kind of spiraling, really. I wrote all kinds of things throughout school. I mean, of course, the reports and all that, but I also tried my hand at novels in middle school. I wrote an episode of my favorite TV show, Fantasy Island, showing my age once again, yes. And of course, I was going to star in it too. You ladies will both appreciate that part of it since you both have been in the limelight. So I was going to act and write and do all the things, right? And so that kind of continued throughout the rest of my time. I wrote poetry just to process the world. But when I started teaching, when I would turn 30, I kind of was like, I loved picture books in the classroom, and I learned so much about them, and I thought it would be super easy, and I thought I had enough experience that I could write. So I wrote a ton of picture books as a young teacher, and even queried them way early. I mean, like, I didn't know anything about kidlit at the time. I mean, like, I'm talking back when it was paper and self-addressed stamped envelopes, right? Like, I mean, it was in the way back, and I knew nothing. And I look back now, and I mean, those are like super cringe. But when I don't know, something clicked in me about 2019. I always kind of had in the back of my mind, I'm going to get to that writing thing one day. That's going to be my retirement plan. I'm going to write one day. I'm going to really take it seriously. Like I was always piddling with it. That's a good Southern word, Reika. I was piddling with it, right?
I noted.
But I didn't really get serious about it until 2019. And then I was like, if I'm going to use this as a retirement plan, then I need to really get busy with it and get serious about it. So I started attending conferences and things, joined a Christian writers group here locally in person. And then I don't know, fate, heart, just kind of more gravitated toward the kidlit space over the course of the next year. And so in 2020, on Leap Day weekend, my husband and I took a little writing sabbatical. At the time, we were taking part of my promise to myself for taking this seriously was that one weekend a month, we're just going to go somewhere and we're going to have a writing weekend. So we were in Newbern, North Carolina that weekend. And I'm like, okay, I'm jumping into the, kidlit world full force. I restarted my Twitter account. I started figuring out all the things. And yeah, and the rest is just kind of, all the things that we all do, the contest and the webinars and the classes and all the things that we do to learn craft and the querying too early yet and still again. And yeah, so that's how I came to be into the kidlit world.
So I was taking just some mental notes here because I didn't realize that you started and really loved poetry when you were younger. And this story, I think, is so fitting as a debut just for who you are, just the light that you give and your musicianship and as a teacher and as a friend. And there's such a lyrical, poetic quality to the text, which I'm sure when people read this or even see snippets online are going to see that it just feels like it's moving through nature with the strings in that space. Can you tell us a little bit more about what really inspired that concept for this story?
Yeah, so this story actually, I didn't know anything about this concert for plants until um, June of 2020, not long after the concert happened. It was all over media. I hadn't seen it, but there was an agent who saw this video and she posted, her name's Alice Fuga, and Alice posted on Twitter the video clip of the concert. And she said, I don't know what it would look like, but I would love a picture book about this.
Oh,
And
I didn't know
so
that.
yeah, yeah. So that's how I came to know about the concert originally. And so I took that challenge to heart and I watched the
Yeah.
concert over and over and over and thought about it in a lot of different ways. And in fact, I wrote three totally different versions of this story. I wrote just kind of an expository nonfiction, like just the facts of the story. And then I wrote the version that eventually became Music Plants Hope. And then I also wrote a version, which I really loved, about a plant. It followed a plant from the nursery through the concert and home with the healthcare worker. And it was kind of a self-discovery, as a very SEL focused kind of a book. And I rewrote that thing. I don't even know how many times. The plant changed, the names changed, everything changed, but except somebody wanting it. That never changed. Nobody ever wanted it. But I polished up all three of those actually because I just wasn't sure like what direction she wanted to go.
Right.
And so I worked with critique groups and we polished and we polished. And when I thought they were ready, I sent them to her, I don't know, I think August or September. And I said, here's all three. Hopefully one of them will resonate. And she wrote back and was like, nope, thanks anyway.
Oh, you sent all three?
I sent all three to her.
Oh, that's an interesting approach.
Yeah. And well, I was still early, like I had come into Kidlit really heavily in
Yeah.
February and this
Yeah.
is June. So I still don't know what the heck I'm doing. Like I mean
Oh, yeah, that's a fast turnaround.
I really had no idea. So, I thought I don't know where her heart is in this. So I sent her all three, but she didn't like any of them. So,
Her
that's
loss.
okay. It is. I mean, I've thought about, writing her back and going, hi. But anyway, I I'm not going to do that because I mean, everybody has their own heart and their own mind in this business and they know what they're looking for. And it just, things happen when they're supposed to, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's so hard to wait, but they happen when they're supposed to. And when Winsome found the book, then she literally fell in love with it. And I am, really thrilled with how it's turned out. And had Alice, picked me up and another publisher had picked it up, it would be a totally different book. I don't know. So I think it ended up exactly when and where and how it was supposed to.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
I agree. Yeah, timing, right? It just,
Timing.
yeah, the timing wasn't right for someone else, but it wound up in the right person's
Yeah.
hands, which, you already started talking about a little bit about this. Can you walk us through your writing process for Plans Hope, which you already started? Maybe there's something else you want to add. And what was it like working with your editor and illustrator, which you already kind of opened up as well?
Yeah, so after polishing it for Alice, and that was a no-go, I kind of set it aside, came back and revisited different parts. I was actually toying with putting together the nonfiction, and I maybe the journey when I was kind of using that plant as kind of a narrator, but doing like a nonfiction. So I kept playing with it, but I never really. I mean, this one did change, but it was just the way it needed to be pretty much outside of just some tweaking, right? Like it was just the story of my heart. It was like I wanted it, except for just tweaking. I had to add some words. Ironically, like we don't hear that very often in kid lit. They're like, cut the fluff, get rid of all this, leave room for the illustrator. But I actually only had 172 words, I think, in the beginning in this story. So yeah, that's all. And so they were like, along the way, it just kept adding and other things kept there was a lot of flow with this book in terms of like revisions. When she picked it up, and like we via email, she's like, okay, but this title won't work because originally it was called Green Magic. She's like, there's no magic in this story. You can't use green magic. I'm like, okay, I can change that, no problem. And she's
Wow.
like, and I had written it with a prologue and an epilogue, which is also very unusual in kidlit. You don't see that very often in picture books. But I wanted the main story to be about the concert itself. Like I really wanted it to be the concert. Like when the quartet walks on, it starts. When the quartet walks off, it stops. Like I wanted those bookends. But I also, like, my critique groups were saying, but it needs something to ground us. Like, we're just going footsteps on the stage and we don't know who or where we are. Like, we don't know anything and we need some grounding. And so I added this prologue and this epilogue. Well, when Winsome and I talked via email, she's like, yeah, this has got to go. I don't like that. Like, I want to just get right into the story. I mean, you know how it is. You do one thing and somebody says, no, not that. And then we go back and, I mean, you don't know what to do. So I took it out and submitted it to her. But by the time we had our editing meeting, well, and we really didn't talk about the prologue and the epilogue again. I took it out originally because she asked me to. When we had our editing meeting, she was like, the editing meeting was like the most bizarre, wonderfully bizarre, like in the best kind of way. Like you hear all kinds of stories in Kidlit about editors and, whatever. Well, my editing meeting with Winsome was via Zoom or I don't know, some virtual platform. And so we were looking at each other face to face, and she goes, you know what? I mean, she just spends like 5 minutes just telling me how beautiful the book is and how wonderful the book is. And I am just like, I mean, like pinch me, I'm dreaming kind of place, right? And then she says, I really thought we were missing a beat in this book. And so I was going to ask you to add like 2 lines. She said, other than that, the book is perfect, but I kind of thought it needed 2 lines. But she said, honestly, then Wiley and I were sitting around, we were talking about your book, and I just wanted to go, stop right there, because Wiley Blevins in the educational world is like a guru, right? Like he is a keynote speaker for conferences. He knows education and books inside and outside, and the very thought. In fact, Reika and I have these conversations often called chewing the fat, and this is where this phrase comes from, with Reika and me chewing the fat, because I'm like, the fact that Winsome Bingham, who wrote Soul Food Sunday, hello, can we just pause for a second, because that book is so phenomenal, right? It's amazing. So you have Winsome Bingham, educator, veteran, incredible author in her own right, that just knows how to put words together. And Wiley Blevins, who is guru in the educational world. And wait, you're just sitting around talking about my words? Like, I just, if I had died in that second, I would have died a happy woman. I mean, like, it was absolutely one of the surreal moments. This journey has been so full of these absolutely surreal moments, and that was one of them.
So
But
cool.
she went on to say that Wiley said, "Nope, it's not missing a beat. You're missing the beat. You find it. It's there." And so she said, so I guess I'm going to go find the other beat, and you're good. So there's nothing we need to change, and there's nothing we need to do. And you sent me a perfect manuscript, and here we
Wonderful.
go. And so we literally just spent the whole, like, I don't know, it was like 30 minutes of, let me tell you how wonderful your book is. And honestly, I mean, I'm like, is this how editing meetings go? Like, nothing about
No,
nothing, right? Like,
not always.
nothing about this has been what I feel like what I had heard was kind of status quo and what to expect, which has been so amazing. And then Natalia Bruno, oh my gosh.
Wow.
No, yeah, just wow. I mean, number one, she's just a lovely, incredible person. So it was funny because, you don't, as an author, you don't have any really interactions with the illustrator typically for, if for picture books. And so, we didn't, but when they told me who was illustrating, of course I went to Instagram and just followed her, right? That's all. I just followed her. And a few weeks later, a couple of weeks, I get a message from her that says, "Oh my gosh," like, she followed me back, and then a couple of weeks later she goes, "Oh my gosh, you're the Music Hope Plants person, author. Oh my goodness, I didn't realize." And so we actually had a little very brief back and forth, not really about the book, but just about, I mean, a little about the book, but not really about her process, just about how wonderful the story was and how wonderful she was having much fun, with the art. And that was it. And then, of course, once the art then came to me fully, oh my gosh, first pencil sketches. And it was ironic because I just told Shane, my husband, I said, I've always kind of been a little fearful as an author that, like, when I get the illustrations, I'm not going to love them. Like, I don't know about y'all, but, like, there's styles that I really, really love, and then there's styles that not so much.
Yeah, I've had actually some author colleagues who have said that they just were, that's not what they expected. And yeah,
Right.
because we all visualize what we think our words
Yes. And
going to
so
be.
in my mind, it was going to be like the concert. Like, and I told Shane, I said, I'm so glad that my first book is like nonfiction, because the pictures are already there. They're real. They're in the world. And so she can look at those. And so I'm not as worried about
Yeah.
being dissatisfied, right? Well, then the pencil sketches came, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, like, this is totally not what I was expecting, but it's so wonderful." Like, it was, I mean, we talk about leaving room for the illustrator all the time in
Yeah.
Kidlit, right? But until that moment, I didn't understand what leaving room for the illustrator meant. But as
Mhm.
soon as I saw those sketches, I'm like, "Oh, I get it. I get it." Like, there's never in a million years any way in the world that I could imagine what she has done with these words and put into pictures. No way. And then to see the color, what the color sketches, even the first, like, I got the cover, and then I got like the three interior spreads, that I guess is pretty standard. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, these are so, 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 so beautiful." And then the full art, the whole PDF comes in, and you're just like, I mean, I couldn't stop looking at it, like I just couldn't stop looking at it. I put it on the big screen on my TV at work, like I pulled it up so I could see it big, and it was amazing and so beautiful. And then when we had that surprise launch and I got to hold this book in my hand for the first time, I mean, let me just, I mean, these illustrations, y'all, there's two. Oh no, there's more than two. There's so many in here that I absolutely love. But like this title page, well, the end papers to begin with. I mean, look at this.
Oh, it's so pretty.
Tani, while you're showing us, Stina and I have all these questions we planned out, but I want to touch on something before I move on to my official next one, or Stina can jump in.
Yeah.
I didn't, and I don't know if you knew this, Stina, but I didn't realize the original title was Green Magic.
No, I didn't.
And you may have mentioned that to me before, but I feel like with the illustrations and what I've seen in the little fairies, I feel like your magic is there. Do you want to talk a little bit about that and what you originally thought the title was with the story that you were writing, and then you were told, well, the word magic can't be in there, right? And it wasn't, I don't think, in anything negative way. It was because people are going to search and then they're going to find a book about magic, and then kids are going to be like, where's the magician? So it's just that black and white. But I feel like knowing that backstory, I think the magic came through. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
I do. I'd love to, because it was one of my favorite things about the illustrations. And yes, so Winsome has a job. Like, she is an editor, and her job is to make sure that this book is understandable and that it checks all the boxes, and that all, I mean, that's her job. And so I, in my mind, when she said that, of course, I thought, but there is magic, there's music, and wherever there's music, in my heart and my mind, there's magic, right? Music is magic. It's a certain kind of magic of its own accord, right? And so, of course, I disagreed with her in my head, but I totally understood that this is her job, and I'm going to trust her because she's been making books for a long time. And I'm going to go, yes, ma'am, we can do that. That is not a problem. Right. But when I saw the illustrations, and I saw the little children in there, and I saw the fireflies in the background, and just all the blooms and blossoms, and just, it is very magical. It is very whimsical. It is very fantastic, and it is very magical. And I told Shane, I said, she found the magic and she put it back in, and I am so grateful. Yeah.
I absolutely agree. I see that too. Which leads us to, were there any surprises while writing this, which you've already, touched on that as well, but anything else that really stands out in the process?
I don't think, I mean, those are, I think, the big surprises, like just that surreal moment of realizing that people are actually reading your words, like, it's going to happen, but like that, just that moment, it felt very surprising. Like, the feelings have been maybe the most surprising, the emotions. But yeah, seeing the magic that Natalia brought back to the book was just one of the very best surprises of all.
Wait
So
until
go ahead, Stina.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, wait until kids and families are checking out your book at the library. I mean, that the first time I saw that happen, I was like, oh my gosh. Or the first time I saw that the book was checked out. My book
right?
Not at the library. I was like, oh my gosh, it's at someone's house right now, or it's someone's backpack, or in someone's car, or I don't know, it's checked out. And
I actually look up some public libraries just to see if my books are checked out. I like randomly look up some library in North Carolina and be like, I wonder if it's checked out. Yeah.
Do they have my book? Where is it? Yeah. So cool.
So excited for that moment for you.
Oh, thank you.
Speaking of exciting, fabulous moments through this journey, can you tell us about your wonderful summer in Barcelona? Or do they pronounce it Barcelona? I've heard there's multiple pronunciations. Tell us about that. And those of you who are following Dani on Instagram, she has posted some wonderful, wonderful images and snippets and clips and behind the scenes of that experience. So tell us about that.
Yeah, so again, it was a surreal moment. We traveled first to Madrid, and we actually, the whole summer was planned for the book and to learn more about the book and the people behind the book and the places where the book, happened, and just to get a larger picture of that before I started out, sharing with other people. I wanted to understand better. So I set up a meeting with Eugenio, and he and I met in a local park in Madrid. So we started our journey in Madrid, and met with him for about, I don't know, 45 minutes. And he was absolutely so gracious and so wonderful to talk to, and really took time. He brought a translator along to, because he only speaks Spanish, and my Spanish is this much and not very good at that. So, but he brought someone along who acted as translator, who was also a very lovely person, and we just talked for about 45 minutes about the concert and how it came to be, and his idea, and how it came to fruition, and what his hopes were, and what his just all the things. And it was just a lovely conversation. And I remember being a little worried, as we were talking about the art earlier. I thought, oh my gosh, because like that was his baby, right? Like, I mean, he got so much press, and like this was a huge deal for him. And to take that concert and then put it in a different format and illustrate it that differently, I was a little anxious, a little gun shy. But when I showed him at that point, I had the 3 interior spreads and the cover. And what he said to me when he saw it was, I see what she did. She made it good for kids. And I loved that so much, because he was just so gracious. And it was just a wonderful conversation. And then from there, we traveled to Barcelona, and we actually had tickets to go see the opera Rusalka at the Liceu. And I got very sick in Barcelona. I mean, like super, super sick. I was running fever. I was just super sick. And if you look at the picture that I posted, you could probably tell I'm not blushing with wine. I am blushing with fever. I was I was really not doing well, but I was not missing my chance to go into the Lisu. And even though I was not feeling at my best, like when I walked in and was actually in this space, I just teared up. And the musicians were practicing, there was, yeah, and just hearing the music in that space, just in that moment, actually being, I mean, I get chills now thinking
Yeah,
about it.
me
Yeah,
too.
just
I
the
wasn't even there.
the space is so beautiful. Like it's absolutely gorgeous. It's opulent. It's just beautiful. And just all the heavy weight of knowing that this place, not of its own volition, but I'm standing in the place that has changed my stars, that took me from an unpublished author to a published author. I'm gonna cry now talking about it.
Me too. Oh,
It was amazing. It was just
That's
beautiful.
very emotional. Yeah, sit in that for a minute. That's
It,
right. That space changed the trajectory of all of
it
those things
did.
you started us with about the rejections and the ideas, and then suddenly this inspiration of in June and seeing this call, and then now you're there.
That was
Not many of us get the opportunity to do that. I mean, I've written a lot of nonfiction and inspired stories by real events, and not a lot of us get to have that opportunity. That's a real blessing.
It was such a blessing, and it was a life-changing moment. And I wouldn't have missed it for anything. There were a lot of challenges in Europe. I mean, it was my first time traveling abroad. That's not true. It's my second time traveling abroad. It was my first time traveling to countries where English is not the main
Mhm.
language. So there was a lot of language issues. There was transportation was challenging in places. It was not a perfect trip, but it was an absolutely amazing trip. And eventually, we kind of wound our way around to Lucca, Italy. And I'm actually posting the week that we're recording this. I'm actually posting about Puccini, who is the composer. Yeah. So Lucca is the hometown of Puccini. And so we got to visit Lucca, which is this beautiful walled city in Italy. And we attended a concert there with some of Puccini's music, and got pictures with his statue and at the museum. And so it was, I mean, we got to do 3 very different things related to the book that all have really made it a much richer experience for me to be able to. I wanted to do that because I wanted to be able to share I wanted to be able to share with students and adults and whoever, like I've walked those streets and I've done that. It wasn't just something that I saw a video of and then I wrote about it. I wanted to live in those moments, and so being able to see the place where Puccini was born and where he was raised, and to walk through the house that was his as a child, and to be in the Lisu and to talk with Eugenio, like those, the book was already done, but those experiences have definitely shaped how I'm going to share this book
Yeah,
with the world. Yeah,
that's huge. That is amazing. Yeah,
it was so
what
cool.
an experience.
It
I
was. Yeah.
love that for you. I just think it's so beautiful. Um, did we already say what do you hope readers? Oh, that was okay. How do you see teachers or educators using music plants hope in a classroom or learning setting? And I know that you always offer so many resources with your PBJamz posts. So I'm pretty sure that, you'll have a bunch of fun things, but maybe you want to share some with us right now too.
Yeah, it's really interesting because originally, like, I was kind of concerned about this book because, like I said, it's not like any other picture book. Like, nothing about this has been like what I feel like is any other experience, but maybe everybody feels that way. I don't know. But I was like, I don't know, this is not the most like kid friendly book, really. Honestly, like, I don't know, are kids gonna love this? Like, I was a little reticent at first. I'm like, I'm so glad that Winsome bought this book, and I love this book, and I am thrilled that it's my first book. But I mean, are kids gonna like it? And that remains to be seen. But what I have learned over the summer visits that I did, and in preparing for things, like I'm doing my first school visit next week too, just in a couple of days. I get to do my very own school. So I'll be presenting it for my school. By the time this airs, I will have already done that. But preparing for that, and I spoke to a college class last week, and the professor wanted me to talk about using my book as a mentor text, which, I mean, that's kind of surreal too. Like, I mean, I don't know, like, that's crazy. But like all of the all of those experiences have really helped me kind of hone. And there's so much that teachers could talk about with this book. As Reka said, there's this very lyrical, language that's such a huge part of the book. There's alliteration and personification. There's plant knowledge. The title kind of tells you three big topics that you can talk about with this book, right? You can talk about music, you can talk about plants, and in Hope, you can talk about the SEL components, right? Of perseverance and persistence. And for me, and I think I'm stepping on a question you might have coming up later, Stina, but for me, the sorry, the message of this book is that music plants hope wherever it goes and however it appears, and that is the thing that can help us through those difficult things. And I'm a person of faith, and I don't want to set faith aside because I think that's a huge part of it too. But next to my faith, I think music is the thing that has helped me through every difficult moment of my life. And
Mhm.
so that, I think, and I hope, is the overarching message that comes away. But underneath that umbrella are so many like classroom things that you can teach in the reading space with the lyrical language, the personification, the alliteration, the nonfiction, based on this real event, the fact that there's a prologue and an epilogue, the back matter's different from most picture books. So, um, I think there's a lot in the classroom space. And then I think in the music space, you've got Puccini, you've got the string quartet, you've got Chrysanthemi itself and how it came to be in the backstory of that. So in the music space, and then you've got the lyricism of the language and how that matches. And it's not a specific rhythm, like it's not iambic pentameter or anything like that. It's a very loose flowing um narrative that unfolds, but within that there is a rhythm, there is a heartbeat that still happens even though it's not a specified rhythm. So and then, as I said, the SEL, working through the pandemic, the grief, Natalia in her illustrations has brought so much of the SEL part to life, and I just love that she's done that. She with her friends, I asked her about the children, you know, because that's been one of the big questions that's come up with various people. And they go, who are these kids in here? Because they're like, there were no kids at the concert, you know, it was all plants and musicians, and that was it, right? So who are these kids, and what are they doing here? And so I asked Natalia, and she's so wise, and she said, I will tell you, but first I want you to tell me what you think. And so, yeah, she kind of put me right on the spot. And so, yeah. So I said, well, I think I there's a few options that I've considered and I don't know, and that's why I'm asking you. So I think they could be, as Reka said, like little fairies that are kind of the spirits of the plants that are listening in a human way, because I've kind of personified the plants. So maybe this is kind of their spirits, or maybe they're, you know, little fairies in this diminutive place that are also enjoying the music, you know, beside the plants, and they're just in a world that we can't really see. Or maybe, so, you know, I threw out a few different scenarios, and she said, well, in my mind, when I read your words, what kept coming back to me was that this is a story of um of grief and loss and finding people again. And she said these children represent the friendship that you talk about at the beginning, and then they're separated and they walk through the pages. I get chills every time. They're walking through the pages of your book trying to find each other again, and by the end they are reconciled, and the friendship is restored.
Wow.
Wow.
Yes. When I say leave room for the illustrator, that's what we're talking about,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like that's what we're talking about. And it's just so, I mean, and there's the magic, there's the, I mean, it's just so beautiful. It's beyond beautiful. And so I think that is where a lot of the SEL components come in, walking in grief, walking in, you know, there's a lot of opposites in this book because that's what it was. Like it was,
Mm.
yeah, there's just so much. I mean, I could, you know, I could talk about this for a really long time, but
So you said in the beginning that, well, of this kind of section of what we're talking about, that you didn't feel or you were worried that it might not reach kids or be kid friendly or kid appropriate. Let's say a 4 or 5 year old is being read to this for the first time. What do you hope they take away from it? What's a message you would want them to carry with them after this story?
so for the younger kids, you know, number one, I just hope that I mean, I plan to at least show some clips or play some bits and pieces of the music that is played for the plants. You know, I hope that they're going to learn to experience music in maybe a more full body way. So as I'm presenting to kids, the plan is to have them move like the plants in the story move. Like these are the ways
Oh,
that, yeah, that I'm hoping to make it more kid friendly. So when the lavender leans, okay, kids lean, you know, when they stretch, okay, stretch, you know.
oh, that's
So
lovely.
yeah, so I'm hoping that they're gonna, you know, be able to experience music more fully in a full body way. But also, I'm really hoping two other things for kids of all ages and really adults too, let's be honest, that number one, that we all belong to the same planet. And even though we're different species, humans and plants, that we are all interdependent on each other, and that we need to treat each other with love and kindness and respect. And also that there is a big, huge, large, amazing world where amazing and beautiful things are happening. And I really hope it's going to spark some curiosity, and that it's going to inspire some kids and other people that have not been and traveled, that I really hope it's going to inspire them, that I want to see the places where these things are happening also.
Yeah, that's so lovely. And that carries into a little bit, like you said, the movement and music. If plants, this is actually your question. If you want to go ahead and
Oh, go, you go.
yeah, so if in music plants had a soundtrack, we had
Uh,
talked about how that because that kind of goes into the movement musicality. If,
Yeah,
if music and plants hope had a soundtrack, what would it be? So what kind of music would you
you
play?
know, it's so, to me it's so bound up in this classical music
that's,
space, you know, of the string quartet. So to me, it's hard for me to get out of that space to think about
yeah.
anything else. I think that it would be all of the beautiful string quartet music of ever, ever, ever. You know, like this oh my gosh, I can't remember their name right now. The String Queens. Have you guys heard them? The Black String Quartet, maybe out of New York. I'm not even really sure, but we saw them in concert a couple of years ago here locally, and they're amazing. They're just amazing. So not even just old era string quartet, but like all the string quartets and all the beautiful music. Like I don't know, just classical in general, but definitely anything string quartet is, I think, where my mind goes. So if I were, yeah, if I were putting together a soundtrack, and I will, um, it's gonna be because that's what I do. It's how I roll. But when I do that, is there's probably gonna be a lot of string quartet music in there.
About a series, Tani. We can do a hip hop version, a jazz version,
There you go. Yeah. Well, I mean, there's
a
also
Bollywood version.
right. Love it. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, totally. um, yeah, but I think there's so much research about plants and music, and I'm also hoping this is gonna, inspire some new research about plants and how they are affected by music.
Yeah.
And also there's so I have this, anyway, I shouldn't say that. I'm gonna take that back. So there's just a lot, sorry, of connections between plants and music. And so I think, um, while I think classical and I think string quartet, like I think there's a lot of other music that would also definitely suit it. And I think any music also that brings hope and that has this message of hope, like you raise me up, by Josh Groban. I mean, I think that'd be a beautiful song to go along with this book as well. Like it just songs of hope and courage and persistence and perseverance.
Well, that segues perfectly into what's one small thing that's bringing you hope right now,
Oh,
especially
man.
in this world. I mean, the things my teenagers come home and talk about, like, did you know this is happening? Did you know this is happening? I learned this in social studies and da da da. So,
It's a
what is
tough,
it?
yeah,
Share with us.
it's a tough world out there, and there is a lot of bad, but I think what brings me hope is, a few weeks ago we celebrated here locally. I'm part of the North Carolina Reading Association, and we host every year this annual writing contest called the Young Authors Project, and we just did our local award ceremony. And hearing the kids stand up and read their pieces that have come from their heart. Our theme this year was educate, advocate, empower. And hearing them talk about the family members that have lifted them up and encouraged them and advocated for them and empowered them, talking about just all the positive things in their life, hearing how they're able to put things into words with a hope for the future. Like that is very inspiring to me. I invited a former student of mine to be a guest speaker, and Brad's an amazing story. Like when he was a second grader, his last name is Wilder, and he was Wilder in every sense of the word in second grade. But he has gone on. I mean, he had a lot of things stacked against him, and honestly, I don't know that I held out a lot of hope for Brad and kids like him. Sometimes you get caught up in the teacher world of thinking, "Oh man, I just don't know."
It's
But
true.
it's hard. It's so hard. But a few years later, I mean, quite a few years later, I ran into Brad, and he was showing me his phone with he was running track and field in college, and I was blown away, and I was so proud of him. And then I ran into him a few years later more, and he was doing inspirational videos on like YouTube and Facebook,
Oh,
and just
wow.
inspiring other people, and he's written books. He's self-published some things. He is now a police officer in my hometown. He's being a
Oh,
role model for young kids, and especially our young black males who need so much in terms of role models and support and knowing what to dream for, right? And so those things, yeah, those are the things that bring me hope.
That's just wonderful to hear. Tani plans to open her classroom. That's what
Yes, I
that
do.
sounds like.
That's
I
right.
try. I try my best always.
Well,
Yeah.
I think the title and the book and the message is so timely. Just that's what we need now is more hope. And if we can find it through music and books,
We
Yes.
need it now more than ever.
Yeah.
It's perfect timing. And so, yeah, already touching on that a little bit, what does this book mean to you at this point in your journey?
Whew. Um, so it means everything, really. I mean, you guys have been there. Like, it is the fulfillment of a lifelong dream. It
mhm.
is, having your voice heard in a very new and different way. Um, it is the voice a little bit of acceptance. Like, I've always kind of struggled. Recently I was actually diagnosed with ADHD. That probably won't surprise a lot of people who know me well,
Oh,
because I can't stop talking, for one thing. So, but part of how ADHD presents for me is that I often feel like I don't fit in and I don't belong. And this book has given me a place. I, I don't want that to sound shallow, but it's given me a place. It's giving me a voice, in a way to share my voice in a way that feels like I belong.
no,
And
it doesn't sound shallow at all. You have a seat at the table now. You've been at that table. You've supported so many people through PBJamz and just your work as a teacher. And now I know exactly what you mean. Well, congratulations on that.
thank you.
Wow. You belong at the table more than
You're the head of the
anybody I
table,
know.
Tani. Come on.
More than anybody I know.
I
You're
just
the head of the table.
I just kind of built my own table.
Yeah.
I don't fit with everybody else's table. I just build my own table. It's what I do. But yeah,
Yes.
Good.
yeah,
It's all good.
yeah.
Love that.
There's a seafood boil on that table. I'll be there.
You know it, girl. You know it. Yeah. Everybody has a seat at this table for sure. Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Okay, so
see.
given given now this is your moment, this is your moment of acceptance. You're at the table, it's your table, this is it, you have your voice.
Yep.
What would you say to those watching now or who are going to come and get their copy signed from you and say, I always want to be a writer. I want to publish a book. What are you going to tell them? Because
Well,
they're going to come and they're going to say it and you're going to
it's
inspire them.
it's already happening. Like, I've already had this conversation with so many
Oh, tell us.
people. Yeah. I tell them, number one, it's hard. So don't come in thinking it's easy. It feels like an easy thing. Oh, I'm gonna write a picture book. I've read picture books my whole life. I can do this. It's easy. Number one, it's not easy. Number two, the industry makes it even harder, right? Like, it's hard enough, but then there's all these unwritten rules. So just I tell them, put on your big girl pants or your big boy pants, because it's not a quick journey. It's not a quick fix. You got to put on your patient pants,
Yeah.
and you've got to buckle up, buttercup, because it can be a really challenging ride. You've got to get some thick skin, because people are going to tell you, I mean, you're going to hear no a lot, and you're going to hear a lot of critiques of your work, and you have to learn to believe in yourself and believe in your work, and you have to keep trying. I shared a few years ago, we saw little baby sea turtles hatch and make it to the ocean, and it was a life-changing experience. But the thing that struck me so much, and I've likened it to the journey in Kidlit so often. In fact, my friend Darla and I, we keep our motto is keep moving forward, right? Because
Oh,
when you watch those little sea turtles, I mean, that journey from their nest to the ocean doesn't look that long to us, but when you're this big and you have all of these hurdles around, above, under you, and you watch them, and they'll go so hard. I mean, they'll just like flip scooch, flip scooch, flip scooch, and they'll get so tired and they'll just stop for just, but they can't stop long because there is stuff out to get them, right? Like, I mean, it is literally life or death for them. And so they don't rest long, but you will see the fatigue and then you'll see them just, what do? They just start up again and they just keep moving forward, and then when they get so tired, they'll rest a moment and then here they go again. And sometimes there are people, that are there to protect the little baby sea turtles. They're called Turtle Patrol, right? And so these people will come, and if one gets like flipped over in the sand or they're going the wrong, like there are things, there's limits to what they can do because nature, you want to preserve nature and respect it. But they will kind of guide. They'll put little side rails literally to help the little turtles get to where they're supposed to go and not get sidetracked. And there's people that can, kind of, they'll build up some sand to help them get going the right direction or flip back over. Or sometimes the baby turtles themselves, like they'll flip over each other. So it's not a solo journey for them either, just like it's not for us. There are people on the sidelines cheering you on. The most emotional thing about that, it was one of the most amazing things I've ever seen because when I looked around, there were people of every color, size, shape, everything, and everybody was united. It's the only time in my whole life I've ever seen every single person united in one single cause, and that was to cheer these babies on until they made it home. And there were kids and there were grown-ups and there were people, hey, can you take a picture for me, can you send it to me on my phone? Like all the barriers disappeared and we were all united with this one goal of getting these babies to the ocean. And our kidlit journey is like that too. Like there are people cheering for us, there are people rooting us on and just waiting and helping and pushing and putting up guidelines and barriers like agents and editors that sometimes feel frustrating, but they're putting up those little guideways and guide rails to help us get to where we need to go. And when we kind of head down the wrong path, there's somebody to kind of flip us back over and get us headed on the right path. I mean, literally. So, um,
Right.
yeah, it's not a solo journey. It's a hard journey. But when you get out in the open water and you are swimming with the big fish, man, it's totally 100% worth every little flip and every little scooch along the way.
Oh.
Oh, that is so beautifully said. And I do remember the sea turtles, the story on your website. Do you still have it up there?
It is. It's still there. Yep.
I I just love that moment and how you tie it all together with Kayla in our journey, and it's so meaningful. And I definitely see that parallel. And I've actually seen the sea turtles, the green sea turtles myself in Costa Rica.
Isn't it amazing?
It's amazing.
It's
Yeah.
amazing.
It's just, yeah, I don't quite remember it that it was dark. And
Oh
so this
yeah.
is like one like huge turtle hatching, the
Oh
hatch
yeah.
where they were hatching. But anyway, yeah, it just brought me to that moment. So I love that you shared that and just how everything, you're just so inspirational. There's so many moments that you've shared today, Tawny. Thank you so much. Um, and brings me to where can readers connect with you and follow your work online as your book is going to be hatching into the world um, very soon. And by the time that people are watching this, your book will already be out.
Not quite yet. It'll be
Okay,
getting
almost.
close though. Yeah, it'll be getting
Okay.
close. Yeah. I'm actually doing something really fun right now because the episode that's up right now as we're recording is Jennifer Jasinski, and her book is called My Violin, which is a string book. And then next up is Christy Mahaly, whose book is called Music and Silence, and it's about Pablo Casal's famous cellist from Barcelona. And so the three of us are kind of doing quite a few things together. So right now we're doing Jen's episode and then Christy's episode and then this episode. And then Jen and Christy and I are going to come together and we're going to have a little panel discussion to close out PBJamz for before I take my summer break. And so it's not quite out yet, but it'll be out soon. And in terms of yeah, it's been so much fun working with them. Like it's been really great. We're really hoping, in fact, I'm going to be live with Christy Mahaly in Vermont this summer for an event, and I think with Jen as well. So we can't all three get together quite yet, but because they live, one's in Vermont, one's in DC, and I'm in North Carolina. So we're like covering the East Coast, but we're a little far apart just to like hang out together. So but PBJamz and Zoom is letting us do that, so that's been great. But yeah, in terms of where people can find me, I mean, I feel like I'm everywhere. I feel like I'm drowning in social media sometimes, but I love connecting with people on all the platforms. I'm on Instagram, Blue Sky, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Pinterest, and I am, yeah, I'm on LinkedIn as well. So those are all the, and then I have my website. So if you're watching PBJamz, you've probably already found me on at least one of those places. But and all my links will be below too, so people can follow wherever they'd like to.
So I think our kind of last question here, before we do a little closing and have you just share anything else, is what are you working on next? And can you give us hints of other things, other ideas? When you're talking about the sea turtles, you know my mind went to that story that
I
you
know.
shared a little bit about. I love it. I love it. But what are you working on next? What has this journey inspired, or other things that you might have looked back on that maybe you put away for a little bit?
Yeah. So I'm always working on new stuff. My agent is really encouraging me to lean into the nonfiction and the music. And so we do have a submission out right now that's actually on round three. And she is really hopeful for that, as am I. So our fingers are crossed for that. It is another very unique music story that involves not plants this time, but animals. So it's not a done deal by any stretch. I mean, we're still waiting for a yes, and we've gotten a lot of no's, but we're still hanging in because Joyce really thinks that that one has really great potential. And so that's what we're leaning into right now. In terms of what I'm working on, right now I'm just working on all the launch things, as you might well know, but I have about, I don't know, maybe 100 manuscripts kind of waiting for their turn. I mean, literally. And I do keep writing new pieces all the time as I feel inspired. I have quite a few that I'm really championing and waiting for the right time and the right place, and maybe another little stroke of brainstorm. You know, sometimes I've heard so many people on PBJamz that have talked about, you know, how they had a book and like it took it 10 or 15 years, you know, to come to fruition, and finally for all the pieces, you know, like we talked about at the top of the hour, like, you know, like sometimes you just have to wait for the right time. I talk about it often as a cosmic alignment, you know, and you have to have the right story at the right time for the right person. I mean, everything has to align just so. And I think I have some stories that are just waiting to align just so, and my fingers are crossed for those. I have a couple that are really, really, really near and dear to my heart that I am not ready to give up on. So, there's a lot more music stories, but I also, in nature, like music and nature is my jam for sure. But there are also some other things that I have that are really fun and humorous that I am hoping to get out into the world. So we'll see what happens.
I love it. Well, if you have not pre-ordered the book, you are missing out. Go do it. Go
Do it now.
pre-order. Pre-order a copy for yourself, for your classroom, for your friend. It's a wonderful gift. Mother's Day is coming up. Father's Day is coming up. You know, we're going to be in summer. Take it on your vacation. It's going to be a wonderful, wonderful story to connect on. Look at all of these themes that we've heard about that, you know, just even from the title, things that we can pull about inspiration and hope and believing in yourself, believing in others, collaboration, and the power of music. Tani, is there anything else you want to share with all of your viewers and listeners, or just put out into the universe?
Just keep your eye out if you're on the East Coast. I'm going to be all up and down and all the way to the Midwest. Chicago, I'm going to be at ALA this summer, and I'm going to be at NCTE in the fall in Pennsylvania. Yeah, so I have lots of opportunities to interact, and I am excited to be able to meet you and talk more about Music Plants Hope and hopefully sign a copy for you. So check me out.
Yay. Thank you, Tani.
Thank you guys.
Thank you, Tani, for talking with us.
Sharing all of that. Music Plants Hope. I'm so excited for you. Congratulations.
Yes, congratulations.
Thank y'all. Well, guys, that's it for this episode of PBJamz. I am super happy to have been the host and the guest, and for having my guest host here to flip the table. So thank you both for being here, my dear friends. I love you both so much. And thank you guys for being here too. I do hope that we'll get a chance to connect. Check out the episode, check out the book, and I'll see you next time on PBJamz.
Bye, everyone.
Songish books and bookish songs, tips for music teachers, interviews and book reviews, a little singing and dancing. PBJamz, yummy books and music. PBJamz, reading, writing, teaching. PBJamz, what a yummy treat. Jamming PBs all the time. PBJamz, jams, jams, jams. Picture books and